The C Morning Show, everyone. It is just past 8 in the a.m. Very exciting times for football fans here inside the country as Indonesia and Vietnam played out a scoreless draw in a very tight and entertaining first semifinal leg at the 2022 AFF Cup. The match itself took place at the Gelora Bung Karno Stadium on Friday, January the 6th. Shin Tae-yong's side is currently still looking for their first ever AFF title and now must beat the odds as they set to face the Golden Star Warriors for the second leg of the semifinal at the My Dinh Stadium tonight. Meanwhile, two-time champions Vietnam has so far kept 5 successive clean sheets during the competition and currently aims to secure a spot in the final for the 4th time. So, who is going to be in the finals after tonight? Can the Garuda squad reach their second consecutive final in the tournament? And what's the analysis for Leg 2? Well, tactic and key player predictions for both sides as well. We're going to cover all of that right now as we are joined by Ruang Tactics football analyst Mohammad Yusuf Raihan live in the studio. Good morning, Mas Raihan. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning as well. Thank you.
All right. Good stuff. So before we get to Leg 2, let's talk a little bit about the first leg of the semifinals that took place last Friday. What are your thoughts on the match? I mean, it came out in what we predicted would be a possible outcome, which is a draw. Many football fans have said, even if we get through with a draw for the first leg, it might be good for us. What's your thoughts on the first match?
Yeah, I think we played better than Vietnam, especially in offensively. So Vietnam didn't create any chances, like any sort of dangerous chances against us. And we were really solid defensively, pressing front-footed from our press. The front three, so Yaakob Sayuri, Dendi Sulistiawan, and Marcelino Ferdinand did a really good job to limit the ball progression from Vietnam, from the back line to the midfield. And they really struggled against us, especially in the build-up phases, where they didn't progress the ball well into the midfield area. And I think a draw is, maybe we are a bit unlucky because I think we had some moments that we could have converted. So yeah, there are a couple of entries into the box that we did not convert into shots. So maybe there is some sort of, we are probably low on confidence in front of the goal, and there is some sort indecisiveness in front of the goal. So yeah, it's actually a pretty good result, 0-0, considering that Vietnam is probably the strongest or the second strongest team in the AFF right now. And yeah, we did not concede a goal, and with away goals rule still in place,
yes,
it can be an advantage for us.
So minimum a draw with a goal tonight will allow Indonesia to advance.
Yep.
Now, we talked before coming on air, and you mentioned, and Caroline watched the game live at the stadium, and she mentioned as well how Vietnam was playing very physical with the Indonesian squad. Was this a strategy that you had foreseen before the match, that in Vietnam, especially now in the semifinal, the knockout rounds, they're going to be much more physical? And how did the Indonesian players react to that?
Yeah, I think Vietnam showed their, us against the world mentality in the
weird
first leg.
For favorites to be thinking like that, right?
Yeah, I think, but they are playing away in a pretty hostile environment.
Right.
In Gelora Bung Karno, of course, we know that Indonesia fans are really, you can say that they are really supportive.
Yeah,
of
they're
the
loud
team.
and boisterous.
Yeah, so it's obviously a tough environment to play in, Gelora Bung Karno. And yeah, Vietnam, they actually, they did play pretty aggressively. You could argue that they should have had a red card. So that Varho tackle on Dendi Sulistiawan, that was.
I saw that making its rounds on social media. Very dangerous.
Yeah, even Shin Tae-yong posted about that in his Instagram. So yeah, I think the referee was pretty poor actually. He did not control the game well. He let the game flow too much, I think, even though. Yeah, you said it before, we discussed it in the back room. You said that referees maybe do not want to,
They don't want to decide the outcome of the game.
Yeah, decide the outcome. Yeah. That's the right.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that the referee should do better in the second leg.
All right.
And yeah, I think that is the thing that in Asian football, that they have to be better.
Officiating needs always can be improved in any sports. Now, let's talk a little bit about some names here. Players like Egy, Witan, Kambuaya, they were not in the starting lineup for the first leg. What was the reason behind that? Was that a strategic move? And what are their chances of starting for leg 2 or tonight's match and vice versa?
I think it's tough for those three to come back into the starting 11, especially since the performance in the first leg was pretty good, I think, especially from the defensive standpoint.
Right.
You have Jakob Sayuri, who is now probably ahead of Egy in the starting pack, so in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And yeah, Egy, I think, has been pretty disappointing in this AFF so far. He has not performed really well, especially in the first couple of games, even though he scored 2 goals in the first 2 games, but his impact all around has been pretty minimal. Yeah, since then. So yeah, Jakob Sayuri is playing probably the best Indonesian attacker in this AFF. So yeah, I don't think Egy will come back into the starting 11. I think Jakob Sayuri will keep his place as the right winger. But also Kambuaya, I think it's also tough for him. But it's not, maybe his performance has not been his usual level, especially after the breakout tournament in the AFF 2020, so the last year's edition.
Expectations are a lot higher.
Yeah, but I think he's not really suited as well for this type of match. So being really aggressive, I think Irianto, we discussed it before as well, he would play a key role. And yeah, he has a high motor. Defensively, his work rate is top.
And we saw that in the first leg.
Yeah, it's like we have 2 players in one. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah, and for Witan, I think he might have the most possible chance of starting. Maybe he can sub in for Marcelino Ferdinand, even though he played really well, but I think Witan offers more goal threat than Marcelino Ferdinand, who is more of a playmaker. So Witan is more of a runner who can cause chaos. And yeah, I think we might see Witan, but for those 2, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, speaking of goals, that's something that we're definitely going to need here in the second leg if we are going to advance to the finals without a penalty shootout. We'll get to that in a minute. What Vietnamese players should the Indonesian squad be looking out for?
Obviously, they have a lot of good players. I think their goalkeeper, so Dang Van Lam, he is really good.
He's like the heart of the squad there.
Yeah, he played really well in the first leg. And he has not conceded any goal.
Wow. So, okay, let's talk about that, because we're always talking about offensive players. Look, they have not conceded a goal the entire tournament. Where does that put Indonesia with any chances of even scoring the first goal against Vietnam in the second leg of a semifinal?
Well, I think that, yeah, they have been really impressive defensively, but no team is it's not a wall.
Shut out the goal.
So yeah, there's obviously still a chance for us to score a goal, even though maybe the indecisiveness, as I said before, plays a part in Indonesia. You know, they have scored a lot of goals, but they could have scored more.
A lot more.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think we have to be more clinical in the second leg, obviously. If we want to have a chance, if we want to go through to the final. And yeah.
Without a penalty shootout, please, because those make me too nervous. So let's get down to brass tacks a little bit. We have prepared, or you have prepared, some analysis for us, talking about offensive and defense that is likely going to play out in today's match. Let's have a look.
So yeah, we'll first take a look at the formations for both teams in the first leg. So we were using more of a back 4 in the group stages. So this was not a bit of a surprise. Shin Tae-yong has shown that he has the tactical flexibility to switch things up. And yeah, he decided to go with a 3-4-3 and mirror Vietnam's formation. So Vietnam also played with a 3-4-3 yesterday. And yeah, Rido came in for, I think, maybe a midfielder, I think Enrique Kambuaya. So these guys, they added defensive solidity. Obviously, more bodies in the back line, so you have these 5 as well. And sometimes they also have one of these, so maybe Fahrudin or Rido as the free man. So we'll talk about that later. And of course, we'll talk about Vietnam as well. So I think that they changed between a 3-4-3 and a 3-5-2. And I was surprised, actually, to see that they played with this 3-4-3. I thought they might line up in a 3-5-2. And we might see that, actually, in the second leg. So maybe Quang Hai can drop in deeper. So maybe he will play in a midfield 3. And probably you can see maybe Hwang Du getting swapped off for Van Kiet. I think that was one of the names I mentioned before.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, I think they might change into the 3-5-2, but we can also see them playing in this 3-4-3. So maybe we will see his. It will be interesting to see Shin Tae-yong's response if, if Vietnam's changed into a 3-5-2 and
right, and how he will respond to that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe let's move on to the first leg. So we will recap the first leg. So how did Indonesia defend against Vietnam? So I think we were really good with our press. So in a 3-4-3, so there's an option that you can go with a 5-2-3
right,
or a 5-4-1. So you can have the wingers dropping deeper. But in the previous match, we saw that these two were still really aggressive, still watching his man. So the wide center backs, still watching his man, and also kept notes of these wing backs who are pretty aggressive in their positioning, right? And you have also Dendi, who is a really good defender out of possession. He always looks over his shoulder and checks for D's player. Okay. So I think it was Hwang Du actually playing in this pivot role for Vietnam. And I think, yeah, we limited them for ball progression-wise. They did not really create a lot of chances. They were undermanned actually, so you can see that
everyone's got marked. Yeah.
And this is the extra free man. So yeah, when they go to the wide spaces, we can see here that Fahrudin can step up, and this is a 4 and this is a 5. So we are overloading on the right hand side, and we can trap them. So this is called a pressing trap. Okay. So yeah, if they go wide, we can trap them in this area, and that is going to be tough.
But it would be Vietnam's job to counter that by trying to break out of that trap and finding their extra free man, right?
Yeah.
They were unable to do that in the first
leg. You can obviously, if there is an overload here, maybe there is an underload in the left-hand side, and if they can pull a switch to the other side, then maybe that can cause problems for Indonesia.
To look out for, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I think maybe we will take a look at Vietnam's now. So yeah, how did Vietnam defend it? Well, I told you before that in a 3-4-3, there isn't two options for the defensive block. So they play more of a 5-4-1 with their defensive line pretty high actually. Okay. So we have Klok and Ahmad maybe switching. So Klok can be here, Ahmad can be here. Right. So, and these two, they are really excellent range passers. They are really accurate with their long passes. And a lot of times that they can exploit this high line. So with their accuracy, and they can send in passes. So Jakob Sayuri might make a diagonal run with maybe Dendi Sulistiawan pulling in his defender. So him as well, Marcelino. And yeah, this is...
They're just going to keep going over the top.
Yeah, and I think Vietnam actually dropped their defensive line a bit deeper in the second half, and that meant Indonesia... I think Indonesia in the second half didn't create as much or as dangerous as chances in the first half. And in the second half, you can see that with the deeper line, there is more space. There is more space and... Sorry. There is more...
Go ahead. One more time. There you go.
Okay, there's more space in this area that we did not really, use. So I think for the second leg, I think we can be more, intricate with our passes. Okay. So maybe we can use this area to our advantage. So
something that I'm sure the Vietnamese squad is looking out for as well, leaving themselves open that far deep, is definitely a threat to their net.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And to rely a lot on their keeper as well.
Yeah, and maybe they can be a bit aggressive as well with the center backs, because these two especially, if they are not in pressure, they are really good with the ball and with the long balls up front. So maybe we'll take a look at the potential gaps or maybe the potential changes that Vietnam can do in the second leg. So this is from the timestamp of 2 minutes and 14 seconds. This Quang Hai, who plays actually as the right winger, so he would usually be here. Okay. He dropped into this midfield area and made it difficult for Klok because he has to watch for two defenders. Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, with a 3-5-2, theoretically you have this 3v2 in the midfield area, and yeah, I think these defenders, they have to be more confident on the ball. I think in the first leg we saw too much of this player dropping into here and making Vietnam undermanned in this area. So yeah, they have to be more confident on the ball, and I think if they can do that, they can exploit this midfield area. But you know, we have Irianto as well, who I told you, it's like yeah, the workhorse is like two players in one. Right. So maybe Irianto will play a key role once again in the second leg. So yeah, and Rido as well. So he will have to stay alert.
Okay, good stuff. Some stuff to certainly look out for in the coming match this afternoon. Let's have a look at some of the key players for each of the sides right now. There you go. You go ahead. All right, so obviously Mark Klopp played a huge role so far in the entire tournament, continues to do so in the matchup against Vietnam. Let's have a look at some of their numbers here.
Yeah, obviously, this is the raw stats from the AFF Cup. So successful passes, passing accuracy, assists and key passes, and all that sort of things. And we did, so maybe 154 passes is not really that much, but Indonesia, they are not really a possessional side, right. So maybe they do not hold the ball as much, and with this low passing accuracy, so maybe it would be really disappointing to see that he is better at this by far, so there's a 14% gap. But with the 72% passing accuracy, there is a reason behind it, because he plays a lot more high-risk, high-potential passes. Okay. So
but also high reward, possibly.
Yeah, high reward.
He's playing for that. All right.
Yeah, as I told you before, that Mark Klopp always launch that long passes into behind the defensive line. Okay. So yeah, this passing accuracy is not really a concern.
Which player do you think plays a more pivotal role for their respective side?
Ooh, that's interesting. I think they are equally important. Yeah. Okay. But maybe Mark Klopp will edge it, because the difference between Indonesia without him and with him is pretty stark, actually. So yeah. So defensively as well, he is pretty strong. 11 compared to 8 and 83% tackle success rate. So
that's pretty high.
Yeah, he is really strong in duels. But also, Do Hung Dung is really good as well. So I would say he is the heart of Vietnam's midfield. Okay. Everything goes through him, so he can play a deeper role. So he can collect the ball from the center backs and spray passes forward, or maybe he can even stay forward and contribute to the attacking line. And yeah, let others play deeper. And yeah, so you can see that the key passes are a lot higher. So a 3 key pass gap. And yeah, he is more involved, I think, in the last line than Mark Klopp. But maybe he is not as strong defensively as Mark Klopp. But this is only a raw stats number, and it's a pretty small sample size. So yeah, we cannot really read much into this.
Not from just the numbers alone.
Yeah, but their impact has been really strong for their respective teams.
All right, so you would say, safe to say that this second leg may be won in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Let's have a look real quick at the other tie taking place as well. One of these teams will be headed to the finals to meet either Thailand or Malaysia. So this match is happening the following day, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
Okay, the following day. So tell me a little bit about, let's go real quick about what you expect from the upcoming match between Thailand and Malaysia.
Yeah, I giggled when I saw this.
I know. I thought that was a typo. Holy smokes, 427 successful passes.
Yeah, he is Tiraton Bunmatan. He is really good. He's actually a left back, but he is playing as a defensive midfielder in a double pivot.
Explains the extra touches then.
Yep, for Thailand in this AFF, for 427 successful passes. So Thailand keep a lot of the ball in this tournament so far. So yeah, he is the metronome of this midfield. He can drop into the back line to collect the ball, or even play in the midfield area with Sarachuyan. So yeah, he is pretty secure with his passing as well. So 85%, even though yeah, he plays a lot of dangerous passes as well. So still high passing accuracy, even though he is 21 key passes, that's ridiculous,
yeah,
actually.
That is huge.
So, yeah, 21 and 2. He plays a pivotal role for Thailand. And he is pretty strong as well, so he is pretty active defensively. Maybe the success rate isn't as high as Mark Clark. But yeah, this guy, probably the best player in Southeast Asia at the time. But, Malaysia, they are not to be taken lightly as well. They won the first game 1-0, and this guy played a really key role. So maybe 117 successful passes compared with 427. That is a bit too far, right? And 73%. But as the case with Mark Clark, maybe, no, not maybe, but Malaysia does not have the ball as much as Thailand, and does explain this too. But defensively, I think Brendan Gunn played a really key role. So he can play as more of an advanced midfielder in the right-hand side, but he is also now playing as the lone pivot or the deepest midfielder, or even as a center back. So actually, he played as a center back in the Thailand game as the middle center back, so in a 3. And yeah, he dealt with crosses really well. He was really key defensively, and his leadership as well has been on show so far in this AFF. And yeah, I think he will play a key role if Malaysia want to progress to the final. So,
you say Malaysia quite heavy underdogs though against Thailand?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Thailand is still the heavy favorites for the second leg, I think.
All right, so let's, real quick, let's have a look at back at Indonesia versus Vietnam. We mentioned how hostile the crowd was for the first leg. No surprise there, but also no surprise that Indonesia often struggles at Median Stadium in Hanoi, Vietnam, because of their crowd and the lack of a performance or finishing in previous times. What are you predicting for the second leg here?
Ooh, of course, I'm Indonesian. Yeah. I'm going to be a bit biased.
Okay.
I think we will progress to the final, but with a draw, actually.
With a draw. With a draw with a goal.
Yep.
Okay, so either 1-1, 2-2.
I don't think it's going to be 2-2 because Vietnam is really strong defensively.
Yeah,
so 1-1, I will take it. Okay. But of course, I want to see Indonesia win as well.
Okay, all right. So since you already took the 1-1 scoreline, that would have been my first prediction. I think I'm going to go then with a goalless draw and this thing playing out in penalties, but us advancing through penalties.
Drama.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the drama, but I also believe this is going to be very hardly fought, and it will likely go into a draw.
What about Thailand versus Malaysia? What do you think?
Yeah, I guess we'll see Thailand in the finals. I guess that's my prediction.
Yeah, me too. I think Thailand might win like 3-0.
Yeah, that one's not going to be as close. That's unfortunate. So we've got something else lined up for you guys as well. I believe we have some predictions from our beloved netizens that do love to comment on some of the predictions taking place throughout the AFF tournament. Let's have a look at them right now. All right, here are some of the predictions here by Dini Nit. 3-2 Indonesia, Vietnam. Wow, 5 goals. Wow, I don't know about that one, but that's very ambitious. Giving up 3 against us in the second leg. We have a 1-0 prediction for Indonesia by Raihan288, and as well as another 2-1 scoreline for Garuda. Obviously, these are Indonesian fans. Last one from Diajeng Agni. Yeah, various sort of predictions, but many are predicting that Indonesia can advance. One last thing that I want to touch on is confidence. Coach Shin Tae-yong, throughout the entire tournament, has said we have blown chances all over the place, but he did mention he was happy with Indonesia's performance in the first leg. Do you think that will carry over then, having the coach's support behind them?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think if your coach shows confidence in you, then you're doing a good thing. Yeah. So obviously that can be an extra motivation for these players in the second leg. And hopefully we will find our shooting boots finally.
Amen. Let's hope so. I look forward to having you in the studio as we get ready to predict the final round. But in the meantime, we do have a semifinals to get to. That's taking place tonight in Hanoi, Vietnam. Try and tune in if you can and support your nation, whether you're from Vietnam or Indonesia. In the meantime, it's time for us to take another break. Don't forget to follow us on social media if you haven't. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Our handle is @CTodayNews. We'll be right back with more after this. Thanks, Mas Raihan.
Yep, thank you.